As a nutrition therapy practitioner, the thing that annoys me the most about diet and nutrition is calories. I absolutely hated learning about the percentage of calories that should come from carbohydrates and protein and fat, and fine-tuning all of it into a meal plan and assessing the calories of every single thing on the meal plan. It's the worst. It sucks the joy out of eating and cooking and food. And there is so much drama surrounding calories and macros. Should you count your calories? Should you count your macros? So we're diving into that in this episode. And I'm going to explain exactly when it's helpful to count your calories and how counting calories and macros might be a complete waste of your time. Before we dive into the juice of today's episode, let me know if this sounds like you. You're tired of second guessing whether you're doing enough for your health. You're tired of trying to piece together a plan from endless blogs, books, podcasts, and social media experts. You're tired of starting new routines with the best intentions, only to fall off track when life gets busy. You're tired of spending money on supplements and programs that promise everything but leave you feeling the same. Because after all of it, you are still left wondering, where do I even start? What actually works? And how do I build habits that actually last? I see you, and I want you to stop feeling stuck in the cycle of overwhelm and inconsistency. That's exactly why I created the Wellness Consistency Workshop. Inside, I'll walk you through the 3 steps that actually create balanced health, the number one way to support each one, and the 4 mistakes that sabotage most people's efforts. You'll leave with clarity, a plan that feels doable, and the confidence to finally move forward. Plus, you'll get a guided workbook, bonus resources, and the chance to win prizes. It's all happening Tuesday, October 28th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. It's free and virtual with a replay link included. Go grab your spot now at thehealthhabit.net/workshop. Again, thehealthhabit.net/workshop. I'll see you there. If your wellness journey has you stuck in a cycle of overwhelm and inconsistency, it's time to lean in. Together, we are unlocking the confidence and clarity to make your health feel like a peaceful return home. Welcome to the Health Habit Podcast. I'm Maria, a nature-loving herbalist, science-obsessed nutrition therapy practitioner, and your guide to holistic healing. If you're ready for realistic routines that bring more presence and fulfillment into your life, then brew up some tea or crack open a kombucha and let's get into it. Now, it wouldn't be right to start a conversation about calorie counting and macro counting without first addressing what is a calorie and what are macros. So a calorie is the potential energy in a food. This is determined based off of the amount of heat needed to raise 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. That amount of energy is what determines the calorie. And macros or macronutrients are the 3 primary forms of calories: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. The problem with calories is that recent research is showing that the source and the timing of calories affects metabolism far beyond just their energy value. First up is the source of the calories. The easiest way to describe this is to think about carbohydrates, and I dive into this topic more in episode 4 of the podcast if you're interested in learning even further. So if you look at a calorie of a simple carbohydrate, so these are the ones that have more simple sugars, they're broken down really fast in the body and tend to spike blood sugar more dramatically. If you look at a calorie of a simple carbohydrate versus a complex carbohydrate that has resistant starches and fiber, There are much more negative metabolic outcomes associated with the simple carb as compared to the complex carb, even if you are eating the same amount of calories of both. The source of your calories is also going to change how much of that food you consume. So if the calorie that you're eating is very high in protein, you tend to feel more satisfied and full sooner. And protein requires a lot more energy from the body to digest. So there's also this component of, yes, you're consuming the calories, but you end up having less of a surplus from protein because it takes a lot more energy for the body to break down the protein compared to fat or carbohydrates. On the flip side of this, when we look at fats are the most satisfying from a mental and flavor standpoint, but calories from fats tend to produce the least intense signal of satiety or fullness and satisfaction. In other words, satiety is that I'm done, I don't want any more feeling. So this can cause something called passive overconsumption. Because there's a weaker signal that like you're done eating the fat, you can accidentally end up eating more calories than you meant to. This is also heightened by the fact that fats are the most calorie or energy dense of the macronutrients. So you get more calories even if you eat less. Sugar is obviously not a macronutrient, but I do want to briefly mention that sugar has even less of an intense signal when it comes to satiety. So if you're going to eat a fat food or a sugar food, your body's going to tell you, I'm done, to the fat quicker than it will the sugar. Sugar just lights up the brain pathways. We talk a lot about this kind of thing in episode 24 and 26, where I break down hyperpalatable foods that are designed to get you to overconsume and also have some really negative health impacts. Now, the other reason why source of our calories is so important is when we're talking about calories, we are only talking about potential energy. The calories in a food has nothing to do with the nutritional content of that food or the amount of nutrients in it. And nutrients are the true building blocks of our body. These are the things that really alter the fine details of our physiology. Energy is obviously important, but if we don't have nutrients, we can't even transfer the calories into the energy forms that we need. So it's been shown time and time again that focusing on nutrients as compared to focusing on calories leads to better health outcomes and improved diet quality and more effectively prevents diseases. Diets rich in nutrients lower chronic disease risk, things like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer. And this is regardless of the calorie intake. If you increase your nutrient intake, you decrease your risk of chronic diseases, even if you are eating less calories. It is so much more important to focus on nutrient density compared to calories. I'll give you a few examples of why this is the case. If you are somebody that is focusing on decreasing their calorie intake, you are more likely to select low-calorie foods in the grocery store. Often in order to get this low calorie, they're decreasing the fat content, which makes the food taste less good, and thus they add in sugar to replace that satisfaction you get from the food. Sugar has more negative health implications than fat. Also, if they're trying not to add sugar, they're going to opt for an artificial sugar. And this is a very hot topic in the nutrition world, but bottom line is artificial sugars might not be very good for our health. So here we are trying to reduce our calories and potentially picking more processed foods that have less nutrients, more sugar, or artificial sugars, which might not be doing us any favors. Conversely, if you are somebody that's focusing on increasing their calorie intake, whether to gain weight or muscle, you might end up selecting more processed foods because they're high calorie, and these processed foods might be loaded with poor quality protein sources that have a lot of health implications. Now, before we talk about why the timing of calories is so important, I want to mention that when you are calorie restricting, the body adapts to the low calorie intake by getting more efficient at utilizing calories and slowing energy expenditure, which can make it harder to lose weight and can cause some long-term energy balance issues down the line. Conversely, if you are focused on high calorie intake in order to build more muscle and body size, this forces you to eat past the point of fullness. This can degrade your ability to recognize hunger cues and can negatively impact your digestion, which can definitely negatively impact your life and health. So you are just so much better off focusing on nutrients, building intuitive eating skills, and consuming a high quality diet as compared to worrying about the amount of calories that you are consuming. The other thing with calorie and macro tracking is it's just not sustainable, and it can really prompt people to have a negative attitude towards food and towards their body. I just think that it can be very psychologically damaging overall. And the research just isn't showing that there is much of a health benefit. Now, there are definitely times when short-term calorie counting can be really helpful. If you suspect that you are under-eating or overeating, or that you just have poor connection to your hunger and satiety cues, then calorie counting can give you a really good idea of how you need to adjust your diet. But I do strongly believe that it should be a short-term thing, just to see where you're at. That way you can make positive change that is more focused on nutrients, intuitive eating, and diet quality. And if that sounds good to you, I am more than happy to help you develop those skills so you can have a nourishing diet and consistent health rituals that create lasting wellness. If you're interested, head over to thehealthhabit.net/services. thehealthhabit.net/services. Now let's talk about why the timing of calories may be more important than the calories themselves. When you are in a sedentary state, the calories you consume are more likely to be stored as fat. This is one of the reasons why people often suggest that you take a walk after a meal, just a gentle walk about 20 to 30 minutes after a meal. It's been found that front-loading your calories, meaning consuming calories sooner in the day as compared to in the evening, improves your metabolic health and lowers obesity risk. Part of this is because your glucose and insulin sensitivity tend to be higher in the morning. The research is suggesting that it's best to have your last meal before 7 p.m. This increases the length of your fasting window overnight and also prevents you from digesting while you're sleeping. While we are fasting and while we are sleeping, there's a process called autophagy. This is your body's natural cellular repair process. So essentially, any cells that aren't functioning well die. The moment you eat, autophagy gets suppressed. So if you're constantly grazing or you're eating late into the night, you're missing out on those rejuvenating benefits. In summary, you want to make sure that you're providing your body with enough energy and calories to function, but what you choose to eat and when you eat it is going to more dramatically impact your sense of well-being, health, metabolic wellness, and longevity than focusing on calories. In fact, heavily focusing on a high or low calorie intake can gear you towards a less quality diet and poorer health and longevity. And if you are ready to take your health to the next level and you'd like to have somebody help you navigate all of the complexity into a simple system so you can fast track your wellness, I am so here for you. I offer wellness consistency coaching. It is one-on-one and completely online, so you can call in from anywhere in the world and bring more holistic healing into your life. And as a reminder, If you really want to jumpstart that process, join me in my free Wellness Consistency Workshop taking place this upcoming Tuesday, October 28th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, where I'll walk you through the 3 steps to balance health and how to build habits that actually last. You'll leave with clarity, confidence, and a simple plan that finally feels doable. So head over to thehealthhabit.net/workshop, thehealthhabit.net/workshop, and come join us for this amazing free virtual training. Hello, beautiful human. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode inspired or empowered you, please share it with a friend and leave a quick review on Apple Podcast. It lights me up to know that this show is helping you grow, and it helps more people discover the joy of holistic healing. Now, go get some sunshine on your skin, and I'll meet you back here next Saturday. Bye!